Welcome to the Haunting Hour YouTube channel. Before listening to the story, please subscribe to this channel, give a like and comment. Thank you and enjoy watching. The flickering blue light of the laptop screen bathed the basement in an eerie glow. Laughter echoed in the stale air, bouncing off stacks of dusty boxes and cobweb-draped shelves. I leaned back in my chair, wiping tears from my eyes. On the screen, a frantic woman screamed, her voice distorted by a baby monitor emitting static. My friends, Ben and Sarah, wheezed with hysterical laughter beside me. "Dude, did you see the look on her face?" Ben gasped, wiping tears from his own cheeks. She was about to call the cops. Sarah, still doubled over, pointed at the screen. "I can't believe you actually said the dog was possessed." My grin stretched wide. The power of suggestion, my friends, I declared, reveling in the adrenaline rush. Hacking baby monitors had become our weekend ritual, a twisted hobby born out of boredom and a shared love of the absurd. It was surprisingly easy. These Wi-Fi-enabled cameras were practically begging to be messed with. Tonight's target, a young couple with a crying infant, had been particularly fruitful. We'd spent the past hour cycling through creepy songs and distorted voices, watching the woman's frantic attempts to soothe the increasingly terrified baby. All right, I conceded, scrolling through a list of open connections. Show's over. Let's give the poor kid a break before they actually call the police. Ben leaned closer, peering at the screen. "Hold up, this one's got a nursery rhyme setting. Talk about cliché." A soft lullaby melody played from the laptop speakers. On screen, a mobile with plush animals adorned the ceiling. A chubby-cheeked baby gurgled in its crib, oblivious to the chaos we'd been causing. "Nah, leave it," Sarah said, stretching her arms. "Let's call it a night." Just as I was about to shut down the program, an unsettling voice crackled through the speakers. It wasn't the baby, nor the pre-recorded lullaby. It was a man's voice, low and gravelly, laced with an underlying menace. "You shouldn't be playing with things you don't understand," it rasped, sending a jolt of ice down my spine. The screen flickered, the image distorting for a split second before returning to the peaceful nursery scene. The laughter died in our throats. The room, once filled with our amusement, suddenly felt suffocatingly silent. My finger hovered over the mouse button, paralyzed by a sudden, suffocating fear. "Did you guys hear that?" I whispered, my voice vaguely audible. Ben and Sarah stared at the screen, their faces pale. "Glitch," Ben finally managed, his voice tight. "Had to be a glitch." "Yeah," Sarah echoed, but her voice lacked conviction. "Just a glitch." We shut down the program in a hurried silence, the laptop screen an accusing black mirror reflecting our unease. The playful thrill of the night had vanished, replaced by a lingering sense of dread. As we packed up our laptops and stumbled out of the basement, I couldn't shake the feeling we'd crossed a line. We'd woken a darkness on the other end of the frequency, a darkness that, for the first time, felt like it was reaching back for us. Sleep evaded me that night. The unnerving voice on the baby monitor replayed in my head like a broken record, each raspy word a shard of ice pricking my skin. My usual carefree amusement with our pranks had morphed into a gnawing sense of unease. The morning light filtering through the basement window did little to dispel the shadows clinging to the corners of my mind. I joined Ben and Sarah for breakfast, the silence between us thick and suffocating. "You guys okay?" Sarah asked, her voice hesitant. Ben mumbled something about a late-night horror movie marathon, avoiding eye contact. I forced a smile, pushing a spoonful of cereal around my bowl. "Yeah, just a bad dream," I lied, the words leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. The rest of the day crawled by in a daze. The playful banter we usually shared felt forced, hollow laughter ringing false in our ears. The image of the peaceful nursery scene, shattered by the menacing voice, haunted me. Later that evening, unable to bear the suspense any longer, I retreated to the basement, a knot of apprehension tightening in my stomach. Maybe it was just a prank, I muttered to myself, booting up the laptop. Someone messing with us. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, a battle raging between morbid curiosity and a primal urge to walk away. Finally, with a deep breath, I opened the baby monitor program. The list of connections scrolled on the screen, rows of unidentifiable names and numbers blurring before my eyes. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drum solo against the silence. Just as I considered giving up, a familiar nursery scene flickered onto the screen. Relief washed over me momentarily. It was the same room from the previous night, the same chubby-cheeked baby gurgling contentedly. But something was different. The air vibrated with a low static hum, and the mobile hum ominously still. The baby gurgled once, then stopped, turning its head with unsettling slowness towards the camera. My breath hitched in my throat as two small, glowing red dots appeared in the darkness of the room, fixed directly on the camera lens. It wasn't the soft, warm glow of a nightlight. These were malevolent pinpricks of light, burning with an unnatural intensity. A choked gasp escaped my lips. Before I could react, the voice from the previous night crackled through the speakers, closer this time, laced with a chilling amusement. "Playing peekaboo, are we?" It rasped, sending a wave of terror crashing over me. The screen flickered violently, the red dots multiplying until they filled the screen, an infernal constellation staring back at me. Then, with a deafening screech, the connection cut out, plunging the basement into darkness. I scrambled back, knocking over my chair in my haste. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat echoing the terror in my ears. I fumbled for my phone, the screen illuminating my pale, sweat-streaked face. "We need to stop," I whispered, my voice barely a tremor. "This isn't funny anymore." The silence in the basement stretched on, suffocating and heavy. But in the quiet after the storm, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just a prank anymore. We'd awakened something dark, something angry, and it wouldn't let go easily. The events of that night hung over us like a suffocating fog. Sleep was a distant memory, replaced by a constant low hum of unease. Ben and Sarah, usually quick to laugh off our pranks, became increasingly withdrawn, their eyes shadowed with worry. We stopped our baby monitor hacking sessions, a tacit agreement forming between us. Talking about it felt pointless, the fear a tangible entity in the room. Yet the silence itself buzzed with unspoken questions. What was that voice? What did those glowing eyes mean? A few days later, a knock on the door shattered the tense quiet. I opened it to find a gruff-looking man in a worn brown coat. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles, his eyes narrowed beneath a battered fedora. "You the ones messing with baby monitors," he rumbled, his voice gravelly like the voice from the screen. A jolt of ice shot through me. My throat constricted, making it impossible to speak. "Archie boy's been having some fun scaring folks," the man continued, a humorless smile curling his lips. Ben appeared beside me, his face pale. Sarah peeked out from behind the living room door, her eyes wide with alarm. We weren't hurting anyone," I stammered, finally finding my voice. "It was just a joke." The man snorted. "Jokes can have consequences, son. You mess with the wrong frequencies, you might just open a door you can't close." His words sent shivers down my spine. Was this man connected to the voice on the monitor? "Look," Sarah interjected, stepping forward. "We're sorry, all right. We won't do it again. Just please." The man raised a hand, silencing her. He stared at me for a long moment, his gaze unnervingly intense. "You got a kid?" he asked abruptly. I shook my head, bewildered. "No, not yet." "Good," he said, his voice softer now. "Keep it that way. Some things are better left undisturbed." Without another word, he turned and walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing down the street. We watched him go, the silence of the house suddenly deafening. Ben let out a shaky breath. What the hell was that? Sarah sank down onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I don't know," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But I have a feeling this isn't over." The man's cryptic words hung heavy in the air. His visit had solidified a chilling truth. The voice on the baby monitor wasn't a prank. It was a warning, a glimpse into something dark and malevolent that we'd foolishly disturbed. The thought of ever having a child, a baby monitor a constant companion, now filled me with dread. The consequences of our actions stretched before us like a vast, uncharted territory, a territory where the darkness held dominion, and the price of our reckless amusement might be far steeper than we ever imagined. Weeks turned into months, the memory of the encounter with the strange man gradually fading into an unsettling haze. We never resumed our baby monitor hacking sessions, the thrill replaced by a gnawing fear. Life, however, has a way of nudging you back to normalcy. Ben landed a new job, Sarah started grad school, and I continued muddling through life as usual. One evening, while Ben and Sarah were out for dinner, I was home alone, engrossed in a mindless TV show. A flicker of movement on the edge of my vision caught my eye. I glanced towards the bookshelf where our old laptop sat, gathering dust, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. An absurd thought struck me. Maybe, just maybe, it was all a weird dream, a collective hallucination fueled by too much late-night hacking. Curiosity, laced with a touch of morbid fascination, gnawed at me. Hesitantly, I picked up the laptop, its cool metal surface sending a shiver down my spine. Plugged it in, the familiar hum of the power supply, adding note in the quiet room. The laptop creaked back to life, the screen illuminating with the forgotten program. My finger hovered over the mouse button, a battle waging within me between morbid curiosity and a primal urge to walk away. Finally, with a deep breath, I clicked on the program. The list of connections scrolled on the screen, rows of anonymous names and numbers blurring before my eyes. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs as I scanned the list. Then I saw it. A familiar nursery scene flickered onto the screen. Relief washed over me momentarily. It was the same room again, but this time the crib was empty. The air still vibrated with a low static hum, but the room seemed less menacing, devoid of the glowing red eyes and the unsettling silence. Just when I was about to shut down the program, a voice crackled through the speakers. It wasn't the same gravelly rasp from before. This voice was smoother, almost seductive, laced with a chilling amusement. "Hello again," it purred, sending a wave of goosebumps erupting across my skin. "Been expecting you." My breath hitched in my throat. "Who are you?" I croaked, my voice barely a whisper. A throaty chuckle emanated from the speakers. "A friend," the voice replied, the amusement morphing into a hint of something darker. "A friend who appreciates a good scare." Panic surged through me. "What do you want?" I stammered. "Patience," the voice drawled. "Your turn to play now." Before I could react, the screen flickered violently. the image of the empty crib distorted, morphing into a grotesque parody of a human face, all elongated features and gaping maw. Then, with a deafening screech, the connection cut out, plunging the room into darkness. I scrambled back, knocking over a lamp in my haste. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat echoing the terror in my ears. Sitting alone in the dark, the laptop buzzing ominously on the table, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't a game anymore. We'd opened a door we couldn't close, and whatever lurked on the other side, it was playing with us now. Years blurred by, each one carrying the chilling memory of that encounter. We never spoke of it explicitly, but it hung between us, a festering wound that refused to heal. Ben, Sarah, and I pursued separate paths, the shared experience a dark secret tucked away in the corners of our minds. Fast forward to today. Life had taken an unexpected turn for me. I met someone, fell in love, and a few years later found myself holding a squirming bundle of joy in my arms, a beautiful baby girl named Lily. Fatherhood washed over me like a tidal wave, a mixture of overwhelming love and a gnawing fear that I, a man who once reveled in scaring others, was ill-equipped to protect my own child. The past, however, seemed determined to preserve us. One evening, settling Lily into her crib for the night, I noticed a small, sleek baby monitor perched on the dresser. It hadn't been there before. "Honey, where did this come from?" I called out, a knot of unease forming in my stomach. Sarah walked in, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the monitor. "Oh, that," she said, her voice strained. "Your aunt dropped it off earlier. Said it was hers, lying around unused." Something in her voice didn't sit right with me. Aunt Clara, unused. It all felt staged, a clumsy attempt to explain something far more sinister. "We don't need it," I said, reaching for the monitor. "We have the app on our phones, remember." Sarah's hand shot out, stopping me. "Just keep it," she pleaded, a flicker of desperation in her eyes. "Please." I stared at her, suspicion battling with a rising tide of fear. "What's going on, Sarah?" A long sigh escaped her lips. "It's not safe without it," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. That voice, it's back. My blood ran cold. Years had passed, a life built, a family formed, all in a desperate attempt to outrun the past. And here it was, clawing its way back, threatening the fragile peace we'd managed to build. "We need to get rid of it," I said, my voice tight with anger and fear. "We can't let it near Lily." Sarah shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's not that simple. It seems to follow me." The weight of her words settled heavily upon me. The voice to the entity, it wasn't just a random encounter. It was attached to Sarah, and by extension, our past actions. A cold dread gnawed at my insides. Protecting Lily wasn't just about shielding her from the bumps and bruises of the world. It was about facing a darkness we ourselves had unleashed. The baby monitor, a symbol of innocence turned sinister, now sat accusingly on the dresser, a chilling reminder of the consequences of our actions and the fight we were about to face. Sleep was a distant memory. The baby monitor hummed on the dresser, a malevolent presence in the otherwise peaceful nursery. Lily, oblivious to the storm brewing above her crib, cooed softly in her sleep, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed bunny. "We need a plan," I whispered, exhaustion etching lines on my face. Sarah, her eyes bloodshot from countless sleepless nights, nodded numbly. "But what? We don't even understand what it wants." The voice on the monitor, the distorted image on the screen, these were just glimpses, fragments of a malevolent entity we knew nothing about. "We can't just sit here waiting for it to make a move," I said, my voice tight with frustration. There has to be something we can do. Dawn painted the sky a pale orange as exhaustion finally claimed Sarah. I watched her curl up on the rocking chair, sleep offering a temporary respite. Left alone, I turned my attention to the monitor again. The image on the screen flickered, the empty crib casting an unsettling shadow in the room. An unsettling thought struck me. Maybe, just maybe, the entity couldn't interact directly with the real world. Perhaps the monitor was its only window, its only way to reach us. A desperate idea formed in my mind. I plugged a flash drive into the laptop, the familiar hum of the machine a comforting background noise in the otherwise oppressive silence. "All right," I muttered, more to myself than anything else. "Let's see what you can handle." I spent the next few hours scouring the internet, digging through obscure forums and dusty websites, searching for anything related to malevolent entities and frequencies. Hours bled into each other, fueled by a potent mix of fear and determination. Finally, just as hope began to dwindle, I stumbled across a cryptic post on a ghost hunting forum. It spoke of a ritual, a chant that could be used to sever connections between the physical and spiritual realms. The instructions were vague, a cobbled-together mishmash of Latin phrases and arcane symbols. I stared at the screen, a sliver of hope flickering within me. Desperate times called for desperate measures. Just as I began memorizing the chant, a choked sob startled me. Sarah stood in the doorway, her face pale and drawn. "What are you doing?" she whispered, her voice thick with sleep and worry. I explained my findings, the desperation evident in my voice. Sarah listened, a flicker of doubt warring with the fear etched on her face. "It's a long shot," she said finally, "but it's all we have." Taking a deep breath, I positioned myself in front of the monitor, the laptop screen reflecting in my eyes. Lily stirred in her crib, a soft whimper escaping her lips. With a silent apology to whatever force I was about to invoke, I began the chant, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and hope. The room seemed to vibrate with a low hum as I spoke the words, the air crackling with an unseen energy. On the screen, the static intensified, distorting the image of the empty crib. Then, a blood-curdling scream erupted from the monitor, a sound unlike anything I'd ever heard. The image warped and twisted, resolving into a grotesque visage of pure rage and malice. I stumbled back, heart hammering against my ribs. The room seemed to grow colder, an oppressive silence descending after the scream died away. Silence. Had it worked? We stared at the monitor, a tense silence stretching between us. After what felt like an eternity, the image flickered once, then went blank. The low hum died down, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Exhaustion and relief washed over me in equal measure. I collapsed onto the rocking chair, my body trembling. Sleep, even if fleeting, felt like the most precious gift in the world. We didn't sleep soundly that night, constantly checking on Lily, listening for any sign of the entity's return. But as days turned into weeks, the silence remained. The baby monitor, now devoid of its malevolent presence, sat dormant. We didn't talk much about the ordeal, the unspoken knowledge hanging heavy in the air. But one thing was certain, the past wasn't easily outrun. We paid the price for our youthful recklessness, and though the entity might be gone, the memory of its chilling presence would forever serve as a reminder of the darkness that lurks on the unseen frequencies, a darkness waiting to be awakened by the careless and the curious. Months passed, a fragile sense of normalcy settling back into our lives. Lily thrived, her laughter filling the house with a melody far sweeter than any lullaby. Yet the memory of the entity and the frantic chant that banished it lingered, a chilling reminder of the darkness we'd barely escaped. One evening, putting Lily to bed, I noticed a faint hum emanating from the baby monitor. My blood ran cold. Panic surged through me, threatening to drown out the rhythmic gurgling of my daughter. "Sarah," I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her face instantly paling as she saw the flicker on the monitor screen. The once peaceful image of the nursery was now filled with an unsettling static, the crib swaying slightly as if rocked by an unseen hand. A cold sweat slicked my skin. Had the ritual failed? Was the entity back? "It can't be," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "We did everything right." My gaze darted between the swaying crib on the screen and Lily, now fussing in her own. Fear warred with a desperate urge to protect my daughter. Just then, a distorted voice crackled through the speaker, sending shivers down my spine. But it wasn't the same voice, the gravelly rasp we'd encountered before. This voice was childlike, sweet even, laced with a hint of playful mischievousness. "Hello," it chirped, the static momentarily subsiding. "Is anybody there?" Shock momentarily stunned us. This wasn't the entity. This wasn't rage or malice. This was something else entirely. "Lily," Sarah whispered, her voice barely a breath. Hesitantly, I picked up the monitor and spoke into the speaker, my voice thick with caution. "Hello." "Hi," the voice chirped back, bubbly and bright. "Can you see me?" The image on the screen flickered again, revealing not the empty crib but a young girl, no older than 5, with bright eyes and pigtails. She wore a familiar blue nightgown, the same one Lily wore to bed. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice cautious but gentler now. "I'm Emily," the girl replied, her smile wide and innocent. "Are you Lily's daddy?" A wave of confusion washed over me. Was this some kind of elaborate prank? But the fear that had gripped me just moments ago had been replaced by something else entirely, a strange sense of connection. "Yes, I am," I said, my voice softer now. "And who are you to Lily?" The girl's smile faltered slightly. "I used to be in her room," she said, her voice quieter now. "But now I'm stuck here." My heart ached for this spectral child, trapped in the digital confines of the baby monitor. "Stuck," I echoed, unsure of how to proceed. "The bad man took me," Emily continued, a tear glistening in her eye. "He said he needed a voice." The bad man, the entity we'd banished, it seemed Emily, whoever she was, had been caught in the crossfire, her voice used by the entity to communicate. "We can help you," Sarah said, her voice surprisingly steady. "But we need to know, how did you get here?" Emily tilted her head, her gaze flickering around the room displayed on the screen. "I don't remember. It was a long time ago." The lack of details was frustrating, but for the first time we weren't facing pure malevolence. We were facing a lost child, a victim caught in the web of something far more sinister. Looking at Lily, sleeping peacefully in her crib, I knew what we had to do. This wasn't just about banishing an entity anymore. It was about helping a lost soul find peace. Helping Emily, the spectral child trapped in the baby monitor, became our new mission. The entity was gone, but its lingering effects hung heavy in the air. We spent countless nights scouring the internet, researching paranormal occurrences and anything related to children and the digital realm. It was a frustrating process, filled with dead ends and cryptic messages. One evening, amidst a virtual graveyard of unhelpful forums, a glimmer of hope emerged. We stumbled upon a blog written by a self-proclaimed tech shaman, a man claiming to help lost souls trapped in the digital ether. Skepticism gnawed at us, but desperation outweighed doubt. "It's worth a shot," Sarah said, her voice tired but resolute. We contacted the tech shaman, a man named William with a raspy voice and an even raspier sense of humor. Over a series of video calls, we explained the ordeal, the entity, and now Emily. William listened intently, occasionally stroking his long grey beard in contemplation. Sounds like a nasty bit of code interwoven with a lost spirit, he finally said, his voice gravelly. Not my usual line of work, but I might be able to help. His plan involved a complex ritual that required us to gather a seemingly random assortment of items: a broken wind chime, a child's drawing of a house, and a specific type of incense. The ritual will attempt to create a bridge, a gateway between the digital and the physical, William explained. If Emily is strong enough, she might be able to cross over. The night of the ritual arrived, the air thick with anticipation and a touch of apprehension. Lily, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding around her, slept soundly in her crib. We set up the monitor, its screen glowing eerily in the darkened room. William, via video call, guided us through the ritual step by step. The wind chime tinkled softly, the incense smoke curling towards the monitor screen. I chanted the words William provided, a mix of arcane phrases and calming affirmations. The room grew cold, a faint static humming filling the air. On the screen, the image of the nursery distorted, swirling with colors. Then, in a flash of light, Emily materialized. She looked different, less translucent, more solid. A teardrop rolled down her cheek, a single tear that seemed to hold a lifetime of sadness. "Can you hear me, Emily?" Sarah asked, her voice choked with emotion. Emily nodded, her eyes wide and filled with hope. "We're here to help you cross over," I said, extending a hand towards the screen. The image flickered again, Emily's form wavering on the edge of the digital realm. With a final tear rolling down her cheek, she reached towards my outstretched hand. A surge of energy pulsed through the room, the static intensifying. Then silence. The monitor screen went dark. The wind chime hung still, the incense smoke dissipating into the air. We stared at the blank screen, unsure of what had happened. "Did it work?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. Just then, a soft giggle echoed through the room. We spun around to see Lily, standing in her crib, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Daddy," she exclaimed, her voice filled with joy. "I had the best dream ever. I played with a girl with pigtails." Relief flooded us, warm and sweet. We rushed to Lily, engulfing her in a hug. Whether Emily had truly crossed over or simply found peace within the digital realm, it didn't matter. She was free. The ordeal had changed us forever. We learned a harsh lesson about the unseen dangers that lurk in the digital world. But it also showed us the power of compassion, the strength of connection, and the enduring hope that even in the darkest corners, light can find a way through. Years flowed by, the memory of Emily and the ordeal a hushed bedtime story whispered only on nights thick with lightning and rumbling thunder. Lily, a vibrant 8-year-old with a wild imagination, thrived. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through the attic, she stumbled upon a dusty box tucked away in a forgotten corner. "What's this?" she asked, dragging the box down the creaking stairs. I recognized it instantly, the box containing the old baby monitor and the remnants of the ritual we performed for Emily. A wave of nostalgia, tinged with a touch of unease, washed over me. "That's something from a long time ago, honey," I said, taking the box from her. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Can I see?" Hesitantly, I opened the box, revealing the broken wind chime, the faded drawing of a house, and the remnants of the incense. Lily picked up the drawing, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What's this?" she asked, pointing at the picture. It was a simple drawing of a house with a crooked chimney and a single flower looming in the window box. A pang of recognition struck me. "That's," I stammered, searching for the right words. "That's the house you drew in your first art class at daycare, remember?" Lily shook her head, her eyes wide. "No, I don't remember drawing this, but it feels familiar." A shiver ran down my spine. Was it just a coincidence, or was there a deeper connection? "Let's put this away, honey," I said gently, tucking the drawing back into the box. Later that night, as Lily slept soundly in her room, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The drawing, the house, it felt too connected to Emily, to the ritual. Was it possible? I crept downstairs and retrieved the box from the attic. Pulling out the drawing, I stared at the house with renewed scrutiny. A sudden thought struck me. I grabbed my laptop and opened an old photo album. Flipping through the pages, I found a picture of Sarah, me, and a young girl with bright eyes and pigtails, standing proudly in front of a small, quaint house with a crooked chimney and a single flower box bursting with color. The blood drained from my face. It was the exact same house from the drawing. The house we bought years ago, the house we raised Lily in, the house Emily mentioned in her last words. A cold dread gripped me. Had Emily never truly crossed over? Was she here, in this house, all this time? Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed from Lily's room. My heart hammered against my ribs. I crept towards the door, a million questions swirling in my mind. As I peeked inside, I saw Lily, snuggled under her covers, a faint smile playing on her lips. On the bedside table, a single nightlight cast a warm glow, revealing a small, hand-drawn picture, a house with a crooked chimney and a single blooming flower. "Good night, Emily," Lily whispered into the darkness. Tears welled up in my eyes. Perhaps, in the end, Emily had found a different kind of peace, a quiet, watchful presence over the little girl who shared her dreams. The entity was gone, its darkness banished, replaced by a faint, comforting light, a reminder of the lost soul who found a home, not in the digital realm, but in the warmth of a loving family. The revelation about Emily lingered in the air, a bittersweet aftertaste to the unsettling events of years past. Lily, blissfully unaware of the spectral connection she might have, continued to thrive. The old baby monitor remained buried in the attic, a silent relic of a past we both tried to keep tucked away. One evening, while helping Lily with her science project on sound waves, a memory flickered in my mind. The distorted voice on the monitor, the static hum. It wasn't just random noise. It was a specific frequency, a digital signature. "Honey," I said, a sudden thought striking me. "Can you help me find something?" Lily, ever enthusiastic, readily agreed. We ventured back into the dusty attic, the air thick with the scent of forgotten memories. After a short search, I unearthed a box filled with old computer parts, relics from a bygone era. "What's all this stuff?" Lily asked, peering into the box. "These are the building blocks of computers," I explained, pulling out a dusty circuit board. "They used to make the sounds and show the pictures on your tablet." A spark of understanding lit up Lily's eyes. "So, if we can make sounds with these things, can we make pictures too?" "Exactly," I said, a plan beginning to form in my mind. Over the next few days, fueled by countless cups of coffee and a renewed sense of purpose, I delved back into the world of coding and digital manipulation. Lily, my enthusiastic assistant, helped me gather the necessary components, her boundless curiosity a source of constant amusement. Finally, after nights spent hunched over the computer screen, I had a program. It was far from perfect, a cobbled-together mess of code and wires, but in theory, it would do the trick. We hooked up the old baby monitor, its worn surface strangely comforting. I typed in the code, my finger hovering over the Enter key. Lily bounced excitedly beside me. "Ready?" I asked, a tremor of anticipation in my voice. Lily grinned. "Ready?" With a deep breath, I hit Enter. The monitor flickered to life, a wave of static erupting on the screen. Then, slowly, an image began to form. It wasn't the empty nursery or the distorted face of the entity. It was a field of wildflowers, swaying gently in the summer breeze. A small figure, barely visible, stood amidst the flowers, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "Emily," I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. The figure turned, her form solidifying for a brief moment. It was Emily, a hint of sadness in her eyes, but a smile playing on her lips. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, the image flickered and faded. The screen went blank, the only sound the soft hum of the monitor. Lily tilted her head, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Where did she go?" I stammered, searching for the right words. "I think she finally found peace." Lily didn't seem to understand entirely, but she accepted my answer with a trusting nod. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the past and the uncertain future hanging heavy in the air. "Can we do it again?" Lily finally asked, her voice small. I looked at her, a decision forming in my mind. Perhaps Emily was gone, but the connection, the bridge we forged, remained. "Maybe not today, honey," I said gently, "but someday, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see something new." Lily's eyes widened with excitement. "A new friend?" I smiled. "Maybe," I said, pulling her into a hug. The world of the unseen was vast and mysterious, filled with potential dangers, but also, perhaps, with unexpected connections. And as long as we approached it with caution and a touch of hope, who knew what wonders awaited us on the other side of the digital frequency? Years turned like pages in a well-worn book. Lily blossomed into a young woman, her curiosity as boundless as ever. The dusty box containing the baby monitor remained untouched in the attic, a silent testament to a shared secret. We never spoke of Emily again, but her memory lingered in the quiet moments, a reminder of the extraordinary woven into the fabric of our ordinary lives. One summer evening, while rummaging through the attic for Christmas decorations, I stumbled upon a familiar object, a dusty telescope Sarah had inherited from her grandfather. An idea sparked in my mind. "Lily," I called out, excitement lacing my voice. "Come up here, I have something to show you." Lily appeared at the attic doorway, a quizzical look on her face. "What is it?" I held up the telescope, its brass glinting in the afternoon sun. "Remember the baby monitor? And Emily?" Lily's eyes widened with recognition. "Of course," she said, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. "Well," I continued, "we explored the unseen world through sound waves. What if we could explore it through light?" Lily's smile bloomed brighter than the summer sun. "You mean a space telescope?" "Not exactly," I chuckled, "but maybe a way to see things our eyes normally can't." Over the next few weeks, we spent evenings tinkering with the telescope, cleaning its lenses, and learning the basics of celestial navigation. Lily, a natural learner, soaked up information like a sponge. Finally, on a clear night, we ventured out to the backyard. The telescope pointed towards the inky blackness of the night sky. "All right," I said, adjusting the eyepiece. "Let's see what we can find." Lily peered through the telescope, her breath fogging the lens momentarily. "Wow," she breathed, her voice filled with awe. The familiar constellations shimmered into view, But there was something else, a faint flicker of light on the edge of her vision. "Do you see that?" Lily whispered, pointing a trembling finger. I adjusted the telescope and peered through the eyepiece. There, amidst the vast expanse of stars, was a soft ethereal glow, ever shifting and elusive. "It's beautiful," I murmured, a shiver running down my spine. We spent the next few nights observing the strange light, its form shifting and changing, sometimes resembling a shimmering curtain, other times a swirling vortex. It was mesmerizing and unnerving in equal measure. "Do you think it's Emily?" Lily asked one night, her voice barely a whisper. I hesitated. "It could be," I said finally, "or maybe it's something else entirely. The universe is a vast and mysterious place, honey." Lily nodded thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the celestial spectacle. "Maybe someday we'll find out," she said, her voice filled with a quiet determination. I wrapped my arm around her shoulder, pulling her close. Perhaps we wouldn't find all the answers, but the journey of exploration, the shared wonder of the unseen, that, in itself, was a gift. And as we stood there, bathed in the soft glow of the city lights and the distant, enigmatic light from the heavens, I knew that the connection we forged with the unknown, however fleeting, would forever be a part of our story. The faint, shimmering light in the night sky became a nightly ritual. Lily, now a young woman on the cusp of adulthood, never tired of gazing through the telescope, her youthful curiosity morphing into a deep fascination with the cosmos. For me, the light was a constant reminder of the unseen world that brushed against our own, a reminder of Emily and the connection we forged with the digital beyond. One evening, as we were observing the usual celestial dance, the light began to pulsate, intensifying in brightness. A wave of unease washed over me, a prickling sensation at the back of my neck. "It's changing," Lily said, her voice tinged with a hint of apprehension. The once ethereal glow morphed, taking on a more defined shape. Streaks of vibrant colors swirled within the light, forming patterns that seemed almost familiar. "Do you think it's trying to communicate?" Lily whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but as I stared at the pulsating light, a chilling possibility surfaced. What if it wasn't just a beacon, but a message? A message from the unknown, encoded within the light itself. "We need to be careful," I cautioned. "We don't know what this means." Lily nodded, her gaze unwavering from the spectacle above. "But what if it's Emily? What if she needs our help?" The thought of Emily trapped somewhere in the vastness of space, in need of our assistance, tugged at my heartstrings. But the memory of the entity, its malevolent presence, served as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked beyond the veil. Just then, the light pulsed once more, a brilliant flash that momentarily blinded us. When our vision cleared, the night sky was devoid of the strange phenomenon. The familiar constellations glittered serenely, the only witnesses to the night's extraordinary display. "It's gone," Lily said, her voice filled with a mixture of disappointment and relief. I shared her sentiment. A part of me longed to understand the meaning of the light, but the other part, the cautious realist, was grateful for the sudden silence of the night sky. The next few nights passed without incident. The light remained absent, leaving an unsettling void in its wake. Lily, usually brimming with questions, was uncharacteristically quiet, lost in her own thoughts. One evening, as we sat on the porch swing, watching the fireflies dance in the twilight, Lily spoke up. "Do you think it was really Emily?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's hard to say, honey," I admitted. "The universe is a strange and mysterious place. There are things we can't explain. Lily nodded slowly. Maybe someday we'll understand. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees, carrying the faint chirp of crickets. Looking up at the star-dusted night sky, I realized that the unknown, for all its potential dangers, also held the promise of wonder and discovery. Maybe, I agreed, squeezing her hand. But for now, let's enjoy the mystery. The journey of exploration is just as important as the destination. Lily smiled, a spark of determination glinting in her eyes. Then let's keep exploring, she said, her voice filled with a renewed sense of purpose. As we sat there, enveloped in the quiet symphony of the night, I knew that the connection we forged with the unseen, however fleeting, had irrevocably changed us. It had opened our eyes to the vastness of the universe, ignited a curiosity that burned brighter than any constellation in the night sky, and who knew, maybe someday, on another starry night, the light would return, carrying a message waiting to be deciphered, a bridge between the known and the unknown, waiting to be crossed.